This is step 7, the conclusion portion of the writing workshop. The most important thing to remember when writing your conclusion is that you are restating some of the things that are in the introduction, especially the thesis statement. But you don't want to use your exact words. It cannot be word for word exactly what you put in the introduction. It must be paraphrased. So essentially, you're paraphrasing your own introduction, and that's the best way to do it. So in this case, this thesis statement is the articles by Karen Brulliard and Karina Hurley display the similarities exist between dogs and humans. There's two simple ways to rephrase the conclusion. First, you can alter the sentence construction, move the beginning to the end and the end to the beginning. So in this case, the articles by Karen and Karina are the beginning of the sentence, and then it's separated by the verb display, and then the second half is similarities exist between dogs and humans. So we're going to take this second half, put it at the beginning of the sentence, and the first half at the end. I know that looks kind of weird when you think about it, but when you read it, dogs and humans have many similarities, comma, according to Brulliard's and Hurley's articles. Now, it's still a perfectly well-written sentence. It still says the exact same thing as up here, but it's in a different order, so it doesn't seem quite so repetitive. Another thing you can do is use synonyms, and those are words that mean the same thing, but they're different words. So, for example, dogs can be canines, and humans can be people. Those mean the same thing. Similarities, you can find another way to use the word similarities. They have many things in common, and instead of using according, you can say the text, in the text. And you also notice here that they used just the last name instead of the first names. If you're only choosing one of someone's two names, always choose the last name. But that's another thing that you can do to change things up. So let's see the example that's here. See, they did say in the text instead of according to, written by, and then they gave the full names. And they kept dogs and humans, which sounds better than canines and people. And then instead of similarities, they say truly resemble one another. Also the same thing as similarities. So these two things are saying the same thing as that one, but they are not using the exact same words in the exact same order. Another thing you can do is a combination of these two things, which is what I highly recommend. Alter the sentence structure and change some of the words so that it's completely different, but again, still says the same thing. So what I want you to do right now is on your planning sheet, you are going to write a whole new conclusion. Not the conclusion that you just saw in the example on the slideshow, but your thesis statement needs to be rearranged and use synonyms. So it's a completely different sentence. That's what I want you to put right here, just your thesis statement. You do not need to write the conclusion. After you're done rearranging your thesis statement into a conclusion, go back to your essay and look at your introduction. If you decided to tell a story up here before you gave your thesis statement, something you might want to do in your conclusion is give that story a little bit of an ending. Readdress Spot. If you decided to talk about Spot here, you could maybe talk about how Spot is so smart because his brain is more similar to humans than we thought. Or in this case, I said pet owners often contemplate the intelligence of their animals. I could readdress that because of all these studies, we now know why dogs are so intelligent and have so much in common with humans. It's always good to just kind of recap whatever you've discussed in your introduction. It gives it a sense of completion, and it feels like one whole piece rather than something that's just ended open with no redirection on what you talked about in your topic, and it makes it feel like it was all one piece. So that is it. When you're done writing your thesis statement as a conclusion, then you're going to add it to the bottom of your essay and readdress anything that you wanted to talk about in the introduction, readdress that in the conclusion, again in different words, and write your conclusion paragraph. After you finish your conclusion paragraph, then you will move on to step 8, which is edit and revise.